Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
Sasuke chuckled and performed a Chidori, while Naruto formed a Rasengan with the last of his chakra. Our bond, I'm going to break it. Naruto felt something inside him shatter as he felt pain, anger and hatred all at once. Naruto felt burning in his eyes, but he got rid of that feeling and charged at Sasuke. Sasuke. Naruto? The two jutsus collided while looking into each other's eyes. Sasuke looked Naruto straight in the eye with his Sharingan and gasped at what he saw. Naruto had lavender eyes with 3 rings. What is that? There was an explosion, and he flew them away. Both were knocked unconscious. Someone was watching the fight and was laughing out loud. Kyukuku, so the kid Kyubi has the Rinnegan, he will be a better companion than Sasuke-kun. Orochimaru came out from the bushes, walked up to Naruto, and carried him on his shoulder. He started walking towards Sasuke, but stopped when 3 Kyuubi landed at his feet. Orochimaru? Let go of Naruto. Orochimaru looked up and saw Kakashi with Sasuke on his back. Well, if it's not Kakashi, I'm afraid I can't do that. Naruto started to wake up and looked around and saw Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei. Orochimaru smiled smugly and looked at Sasuke. We both know you can't beat me. So let's make a deal. You can have Naruto Kuno with Sasuke-kun, Kakashi growled, and began to weigh the prices. Naruto is my sensei's son, but Sasuke is a better ninja than him, and the council will be angry if I come back without Sasuke. 50 Sorry Naruto, it's okay, I'll take Sasuke back to the village, you can stay with Naruto. Kakashi-sensei. Don't leave me with him. You can take it with you. Naruto shouted. Kakashi shook his head and turned around. Naruto was able to open his eyes and saw Kakashi leaving. Sorry Naruto, it's better this way for the village. Again, the same pain he felt when he and Sasuke were fighting. The people. That fucking town. Kakashi soon left with Sasuke. Kukukuk, come Naruto-kun. You have a lot to learn. Naruto simply ducked his head, defeated. Everything I've done for this village, beat Mizuki, save Gato from the wave, and beat Gahara. Fuck this village. No one wanted to save me. Sasuke this, Sasuke that. It's all about him. Orochimaru was moving at an incredible speed, and Naruto could only see green and brown spots. Maybe I should stay and let Orochimaru teach me his techniques, yeah. I'll let him train me to the point of being strong enough to kill everyone in that damn village hell. That way everyone will know my name and be afraid of me. Konoha General Hospital. Mission accomplished, Okage-sama. Sasuke Uchiha has been rescued and is recovering in the other room, Kakashi said. Tsunade nodded, but noticed that something was not right. Kakashi, where's Naruto? He should be here breaking down the door and demanding to see Sasuke. Kakashi became sad when he remembered his mission and swallowed hard. She knew about the mother-son relationship that she and Naruto had. That just means that extreme pain will come soon. Well, when I arrived at the scene, Naruto managed to defeat Sasuke, but he fainted. Orochimaru was watching the whole time, apparently, and was going to defeat both Sasuke and Naruto. Kakashi stopped and took a deep breath before continuing. I managed to catch Sasuke before him, but I wanted to make a deal. I was willing to trade Naruto for Sasuke, or he would keep Naruto, and I would keep Sasuke. Before he could say anything else, Tsunade landed a chakra-infused punch to his stomach. Within seconds, he fell to the ground, choking on saliva. What did you do what? How could you trade Naruto for Sasuke like that? Why didn't you wait for someone to come and help you? Kakashi was feeling worse and worse as Tsunade kept scolding him. I'm going to send another team to find Naruto. Stay here and keep an eye on the brat, he said, pointing to the room where Sasuke was. Kakashi sighed and nodded. I'm really sorry Naruto, please come back safe and sound to Tsunade's office. Okage-sama. The team that has called is already here, but Sakura Aruno has not appeared. Should I bring her too? An Ambo with a cat mask asked him. No, it's okay, I know where he is, Tsunade said with a disgusted face. At that moment, he knew that Sakura was in the hospital, watching her beloved Sasuke-kun sleep. The door opened and 3 people came in. Is that right, Tsunade and me? Has Naruto been captured? Hiraya asked, fearful. The other two looked at him with arched eyebrows. They captured little Gaki, huh? Was it Suna again? Anko asked. Tsunade shook her head and looked at the woman next to her. She was cool and Anko's friend for a long time. Kurenai, I want you to keep Anko out of trouble on the mission I'm going to give you. Kurenai already felt. Tsunade interlaced her fingers and rested her head on them. When Elishia was trying to escape from the village, I sent Naruto along with other genin to bring Sasuke back. He and Sasuke fought, but in the end Naruto won and lost. Her eyes started to tear up, but she held back. Orochimaru was watching the whole time and decided to take them both. Kakashi managed to stop him from taking Sasuke, but not Naruto. Hirai was already furious, while Anko narrowed his eyes. Even after the exams, Orochi Tem continues to cause us problems. Tsunade looked up, wrapped her hands on the desk and pointed at her. You three will be Naruto's rescue team. When they look for him, they will return to the village every 2 months to report. Do I understand? Everyone was a little startled when they heard his screams and made a bow. Everyone went their separate ways and started packing for what seemed like a very long mission. In one of the hidden bases of Orochimaru, now Naruto-kun, is ballasted, stopped when he saw Naruto raise his hand. I heard what you said to Kakashi. I'm going to train with you, but you should know this. When I feel that my training is over, I will go to Konoha and kill everyone who is there. Orochimaru looked at him with a questioning expression. Why do you want to do that? Naruto smiled as he looked up and had the active Rinnegan in his eyes. They betrayed me and left me for you. I'm going to prove to them how wrong they are with that damn Uchiha, and that he's nothing special. Orochimaru let out a dark and twisted laugh and nodded. I will help you with your goal, serve me. And I will grant you an incalculable power. Naruto let out an evil smile. Yes, Orochimaru-sama. It's been more than 2 years since Naruto was captured by Orochimaru. The people of Konoha were mostly happy about his departure, but some were also sad. Naruto's favorite ramen stand now saw people coming in and out, and the stall owners were heartbroken to learn that Naruto was captured. Team 7 was not disbanded. Sasuke was now under Ambu's constant surveillance and had a seal placed on him. If he left the village, it would cause him indescribable pain. Sakura was still the same as always, barely noticing that Naruto wasn't there, making noise or acting like a fool. Kakashi started arriving even later to team meetings due to feeling bad about leaving Naruto for Orochimaru. Sasuke was more angry than anything else. Naruto had defeated him. Sasuke Uchiha of the Uchiha clan. He was defeated by an idiot in an orange jumpsuit, the last one in the academy. The three of them were walking down a hallway that led to the quest room. The door opened, and he saw Iruka, more sad than ever since the death of his parents. Team 7 approached the table and left a scroll with the letter C. Mission completed, Iruka-senpai. Iruka looked up from his clipboard and saw Kakashi holding the scroll. He nodded, picked it up, and tossed it into a pile of other scrolls. That makes 14. Kakashi, don't you think your team needs a break? Kakashi frowned slightly under his mask. No, it helps us not to think about him, Kakashi said as he looked back and at his two genin. Sasuke made a face of pure hatred at the mention of it, while Sakura got a little sad. I see, do you want another one? If so, we have a C rank that needs to be completed. The job is that someone needs you to help protect his caravan from thieves during his trip to Kirigakure. We'll take it. Just give us a few days to rest. Iruka nodded and sealed the scroll. Here, show this to the client, and they will give you more information. About the mission. Kakashi bowed and left the room, followed by Sasuke and Sakura. Outside of the Okage Tower, you two have 2 days off. In the meantime, they can train, rest, and do whatever they want. You'd better pack your bags for the mission today, so you won't be forgotten, Kakashi continued. Sasuke grunted as Sakura nodded. Kakashi raised his hand, formed a seal, and disappeared among the leaves. Sasuke turned around and started to return home, but stopped when he heard Sakura calling him. Hey, Sasuke-kun, I was wondering if we could train together today. I know I have no idea about your skill level and power, but I could help you to control the chakra better. And maybe you could help me with everything I need. Sasuke looked at her and saw her pleading look. I could use a punching bag, and she has better chakra control than me and that double. Sasuke looked at her and so. Okay, we'll train at my family's compound. He turned around and headed home. Sakura followed him closely. Otagakure. It's almost time, Naruto-kun. We will soon fulfill our wish. I can't wait to get their throats under my boot. Watching them bleed, hehe. I will show you what a real demon is. I'm very glad to hear it, but remember our plan. Once we destroy the village, you will bring Lucia to me so I can take her body. After that, you are free to do whatever you want. I understand. Orochimaru closed the door behind him, leaving Naruto alone in his room. Orochimaru went to a coffin and opened it. The person inside was simple-looking and wore the same attire as the people of Orochimaru. Go. You know what you're doing. The lifeless body nodded and ran at full speed towards Konoha. Kabuto stepped out of the shadows and bowed to Orochimaru. Orochimaru-sama, are you sure it's wise to release someone like Naruto after the plan? He could turn on us and kill us both. Yes, he could easily kill us both, but he has the same determination as me. To become more than just a human. Orochimaru let out a sickly, twisted laugh. Kabuto bowed again and went to his room. I'll prepare our way out of this place when the time comes, with the Naruto recovery team. This better be good, pervert. I want Naruto found now, damn it. Jiraiya, Anko, Kureina and Sakura covered their ears at Tsunade's screams. Tsubeam, maybe we've figured out where Naruto might be. We have information that some Orochimaru soldiers have been spotted near Otagakure. Tsunade opened her eyes wide and stood up. So, what the fuck are you still doing here? Get your old pervy ass back and check that place out. Jiraiya nodded and ran out of the building, followed by Anko, Kureina, and, sadly, Sakura. With the shell, Orochimaru-sama asked me to be seen by Jiraiya's small search party, so I better get on. To kill these people and made a fuss. Under the shell stood a small family village in surge. The husk jumped out of the tree and began to choose its targets. He reached back his hand, pulled out some kunai, and started his scene. People had no chance. Some saw the attack coming and some didn't. Naruto's recovery team was approaching the village where the shell was killing everyone and everything they saw. It took just under a week to leave Kono for the country of waves. Jiraiya-sama. We are about to reach a small village further on. Sakura shouted. Jiraiya nodded, but stopped in his tracks as he landed on the thick branch of a tree. Anko and Kurenai stopped next to Sakura. What's the matter? Why did we stop? Kurenai asked. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes. They're attacking people right now. We have to help them now. Back with the shell. Ha 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 ha. Thank you, Orochimaru-sama, for this opportunity to set me free. The shell stuck a cradle and into the back of a man who was trying to escape. The shell stopped laughing when it heard that someone was preparing a jutsu. He jumped up just in time to dodge a Rasengan coming straight at him. Ha! Damn it! It's so good to see you. Jiraiya narrowed her eyes again and looked around. The village was in perfect condition. Just by removing the dead from the roads and the evidences of battle, everything would be. It's been good. Who are you, and why have you committed this crime against these people? He screamed. The shell smiled smugly and turned around. Orochimaru-sama ordered it for me. In the meantime, I have to inform him. Have fun cleaning all the bodies. The shell took off at a speed that almost stunned Jiraiya. Everyone follow that man. Anko, send one of your summons to Tsunade that we are about to find Orochimaru. Naruto's room, prison. It's time, Naruto, have fun and please don't kill Sasuke. I need it, Orochimaru said. Naruto closed his eyes. Man, just thinking about killing them makes me really excited, but these chains and this stamp in the room are really necessary. Yes, I will contact you soon. Good luck, Naruto. For the last time, Orochimaru closed the door behind him. He walked down the hall and made a clay clone. You know what to do when they arrive. The clone smiled smugly and stood idly by. The two soon felt the ground shaking and heard fighting noises. It looks like they're already here. Get them in so I can escape with Kabuto, he shouted. The clay clone nodded as the real Orochimaru left with Jiraiya and his team. That shell was pretty quick to do it. Luckily, I was here to keep up with him. Jiraiya said as he crouched down, to dodge an arrow being shot at him from the wall. Jiraiya-sama, can we talk about how cool it is when we find Orochimaru and, in turn, Naruto? Kushina screamed, and as she jumped over a well of spikes, Anko stood still and shook her head as she watched them arrive across the hall. Anko, what are you doing standing here? Jiraiya shouted. Anko smiled smugly and rested his hand on a hidden panel. A loud click was heard as he advanced. I was waiting for them to finish dancing on the traps so I could disarm them, he replied coolly. Kushina, and was about to strangle her, but stopped when she saw that Sakura finally caught up with them. Oh, thank God. Man, let me catch my breath for a bit. The other three shook their heads as Jiraiya took a step forward. I still can't believe Tsunade didn't mind training you in endurance for years. Sakura was going to say something, but stopped when she heard a creepy laugh. Cuckoo, Jiraiya, it's good to see you coming. Are you here to see me? Or just to save Naruto-kun? That Sakura, wait, Kushina, and tried to grab her, but she ducked and ran into a large hall. The others appeared behind her and saw the clay clone of Orochimaru, standing, smiling smugly at them. Glad to see that you are still well, Anko-chan. Did you like the parting gift I gave you? He asked. Anko grabbed the mark of the curse on his neck and rubbed it. I'm gonna kill you for the hickey you gave me, you sick fuck. He screamed. Jiraiya pounced on the clone with a Rasengan forming in his right hand. He pushed the blue orb into the clone's stomach, only to see it turn into mud. Damn it! Another clay clone! Sakura exclaimed. Jiraiya put a hand on her shoulder to cheer her up. Hey, don't give up, okay? I'm sure we'll find him sooner or later. It's already 2 years late, Iro-sensei, another voice said from a room. Who are you and where are you? Kushina asked, and as she pulled out a kune. I would tell you where I am, but I don't even know who I am. My name is Naruto Namikaze. Jiraiya almost had a heart attack when he heard the name. He quickly went to the door and kicked it open. He saw a man chained to the wall with a chakra seal nearby. In Naruto, guys, I found Naruto here. Everyone hurried to see Naruto. He was wearing a fishnet t-shirt like Anko, but he had very thin chains around his fists and forearms like gauntlets. He was wearing black cargo pants with steel-toed boots. Naruto, is that really you? Sakura asked. Naruto was silent and started sipping. Can you tell the person who is getting off when they see me to stop? I can smell their juices. They all started staring at each other until one ran between her teeth. I'm sorry, I just didn't expect the gaki to look so good. Everyone blushed a little when Jiraiya stepped forward to take off Naruto's blindfold. Before he could do so, Naruto spoke. When you take off my blindfold, don't be scared. Wondering what I was talking about, she took off her blindfold to reveal a view that made her have a deja vu all over again. Everyone was wondering what was wrong with Naruto, and asked, what's wrong with Jiraiya-sama? In all my years of life, Naruto has the Rinnegan. Naruto and his rescue party were walking along a road nearby, near Konoha. On the way, Naruto remained completely silent, slightly scaring Jiraiya and Sakura, who knew his more than extravagant personality. After a few hours of walking, Sakura tried to talk to him, but he just stayed silent. Anko was trying to grab a small piece of Naruto's ass, but Kurenai blocked him every time he tried. Kurenai had a hard time looking at him out of the corner of her eye. Naruto could see the looks on the two women's faces, but he didn't care. Jiraiya, thinking about how they found Naruto, stood still. Sakura and everyone else collided. With him, What's the matter with the delay, Jiraiya-sama? Sakura shouted. Jiraiya looked at Naruto. Naruto, you and I need to have a private conversation now. Naruto looked at him with his deep, cold blue eyes and outlined an evil smile. It's about time, man, but poured, and yes, I'll tell you how I know him. Jiraiya nodded and led Naruto to a tree, away from the others. He put a hand to his chin and sighed. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, he had enemies and knowing them, if they found out you were his son, they would have killed you for revenge. Naruto nodded and looked away and back at him. Orochimaru told me about my father and mother when he was training me. The idiot thought he could take my body if I collapsed with rage and sadness. But what I'm wondering is how do you have the Rinnegan? Only people of pure Senju blood or Uchiha blood can wake it up. Naruto chuckled between teeth with a dark laugh and stared at him for a moment. The reason is simple. The Uzumaki clan was the true lineage of the Uchiha and the Rikudo Sennin, not the Senju. The Senju were a branch of the Uzumaki. That's why they wanted the fame that we, the main branch of the Uzumaki, had. Being who we are, we simply allowed them to have our power, and we went on the wave, or Uzusio Gakure, as it was called. Jiraiya didn't know how to react to what Naruto had just told him. In essence, the Uzumaki were the true founders of Konoha, and the Senju were simply the jealous Uzumaki of the main family. You know Tsunade is a Senju, so Naruto nodded, but shrugged his shoulders. Yes, we are blood relatives. Hardly relatives, but still, I would like. Jiraiya already looked at him for a second, and then burst out laughing. Oh man, that was a good joke, Naruto. I missed you so much. Naruto smiled, and patted her on the shoulder. Who said I was joking? Naruto approached the group, leaving Jiraiya speechless. And I wasn't kidding. Oh my god. The gates of Konoha. Stop. Who's there? Take it easy, guys. The great Jiraiya has returned with someone who we miss very much. They both nodded their heads and let them pass without a problem. Well, first things first, we need to see Tsunade so that we can finally say that we have accomplished the mission. He screamed. Everyone cheered up a little at the thought of a well-deserved rest from the trip. Naruto remained silent as he was led towards the tower. As they were going down, people couldn't help but look at him with interest. His clothes made the women who were nearby almost jump on him at that very moment. Anko noticed and conveyed a disturbing feeling to the other women who were nearby. Back the fuck up. Naruto is mine. When they finally reached the door, Jiraiya opened it and let everyone in. The secretary didn't even try to stop them or ask for identification. She was an attractive woman and, from Jiraiya's perspective, would make an excellent piece of research. When she saw the look he gave her, she knew he was the real Jiraiya and let him in. They approached a thick red door and knocked. The only response was someone shouting at them furiously, "If you're not Jiraiya and you're here with what I want, then leave me alone. There are no meetings today or tomorrow." Naruto shook his head and kicked the door, surprising everyone again. "Who are you and what does it mean, my god?" Naruto. Naruto smiled and looked her up and down. "I'm happy to see you too, Sachin. You look good as always." Tsunade blushed as Jiraiya slowly took his notebook. "I may not have any chance with Tsunade, but if Naruto can get it, hehe. The best book of all time." Tsunade recovered from her surprise and repeated what Naruto had said. "What happened to Bakken?" he asked. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and gave a sly smile. "I was a little girl back then. I didn't know what beauty was until it was taken from me, and I really like what I see in front of me." Tsunade was stunned. "And Naruto, you're hitting on me." Naruto snorted and looked at her again. "If I was hitting on you, Sachin, you'd know it." To Kushina, and it was very difficult for her to disguise her impression. Anko was furious that Naruto was flirting with Tsunade and not with her. "Well, Naruto, how does it feel to be back in the village?" he asked. Naruto looked around and took a deep breath. "See, more or less the same thing when I left." Jiraiya chuckled, while Anko shook her head in amusement. "So that's a good thing. It can mean whatever you want it to mean." Tsunade couldn't help but stare at Naruto's new clothes. "Could you explain the new clothes to me? What happened to your monkey?" he asked. "Oh, that old thing. I changed it for this. It is more comfortable and lets a gentle breeze run when I do my things," he replied with a smile. Tsunade snorted and smiled. "Well, I'm glad you're back, Naruto. Only Jiraiya and I have missed you a lot." She got up and went over to him to hug him like a life preserver. Naruto looked to his left and saw Jiraiya raising his thumb, but quickly lowered it when he saw Kushina and Yanko throwing murderous glances at him. "I'm sorry, Naruto, it's just that I haven't seen you for a long time, and you've become a good man, if I may say so." Naruto smiled slightly and rubbed the back of his neck. "Now that you're back, I guess we can finally put you back on Team 7. Naruto quickly stopped smiling and gave a deadly growl. "I'm pretty sure you know how Orochimaru captured me, right? And yet, you put me on the same team with people who didn't even care." Tsunade sighed, knowing that this was going to happen. "I really didn't stand a chance, Naruto. From what he told me, Orochimaru was willing to take them both. I can understand why, Sasuke, but why you? It's because my eyes see better than Sasuke's, any day, any time, Naruto replied. He closed his eyes and opened them again to show her what he wanted to say. No, there's no way, Naruto, that's the Rinnegan. Jiraiya chuckled and slapped Naruto on the back. That's what I said, but what I'm about to tell you is even more shocking. Naruto can tell you more, but he has to get back together with his team, right? Naruto shot another hateful look at the thought of his supposed team, but nodded. Yes, I have some words to say to Kakashi, and no, I'm not going to kill him. Tsunade nodded, clasped her hands together, and rested her head on them. Kakashi is training Sasuke right now at Training Camp 7. Without saying anything else, Naruto was about to leave, but he heard something flying towards him. He moved to the right and caught it. He looked at what he caught and saw that it was a Konoha headband. It was black and longer than the normal ones. Think of that as my welcome gift, Tsunade said. Naruto smiled smugly and opened the door when Sakura walked past him. I guess I'll come back to give you your gift. After all, I'm sure it's been a few years since the last time someone gave you the gift I'm going to give you. Everyone was wondering what Naruto was talking about, but Tsunade and Hirai already knew what he meant when he said that. And Naruto, just kidding, right? Even if I accepted it, I'm too old for it. Naruto dismissed her with a gesture. Don't worry. Anyway, I like them older. It's up to me, I'll see you around, I promise. Having said that, he left the room. Tsunade was having a hard time controlling the robot, and Jiraiya was getting a little jealous of Naruto. For making the woman he has been chasing for years blush so easily. Where did you learn to do that? At the Training Camp 7. Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura were standing chatting, waiting for Naruto to appear. Kakashi was a little nervous about meeting again with Naruto after what he did. Sasuke was somewhat interested in the Dobe's return, but otherwise he was pensive. Sakura was about to tell them about Naruto's Rinnegan, but she was interrupted when a small stone hit her on the toe, making her bite her tongue in pain. Sakura, I don't want them to know that yet. I will show it to you and tell you in due time, but now is not the time. Kakashi and Sasuke looked up and saw Naruto sitting in the tree, twirling a twig between his fingers. Naruto, is that you up there? Kakashi asked. Naruto nodded and jumped out from the shadows of the tree. Both were shocked by his new appearance. Well, let's get this meeting over with. I have things to do today, and I need all the time I can get for it. Naruto, you just got back to the village. What might you need to do? Kakashi asked. Naruto looked at him for a second and narrowed his eyes. Wouldn't you like to know? Seeing where the conversation was heading, Kakashi stepped back and pulled out 3 bells. This is a simple test to see how much they have improved. It's the same test as before, but everyone will get a bell, now come. Kakashi jumped back to dodge a Chidori from Sasuke. He held up his sash to show his Sharingan. Naruto stood still and watched as Sasuke and Sakura were crushed from all sides. Naruto enjoyed hearing their cries of pain every time they fell to the ground they were hit. And Naruto, why are you just standing there? Sakura shouted before ducking to dodge a Kuna and launched. Naruto remained silent while Sasuke performed some hand seals. Release of fire. Great fireball jutsu. Kakashi looked up and saw a giant fireball flying towards him. He kicked Sakura and jumped to prevent both of them from getting burned. Naruto smiled smugly and took a few steps forward. You're finally getting into the fight, Tobe. I thought you had frozen again like the last time in the surge. Sasuke said. Naruto gave him a cold look that made him tremble with fear. No, I'm just getting a better look at how they're getting pounded. It seems that even after all this time, they can't overcome Kakashi, they are still as weak as ever. Sakura was stunned to see how Naruto was talking to them. Sasuke was furious and also confused why Naruto was talking to his crush like that. Sakura, Sasuke, let Naruto and I have a fight for old time's sake, huh? You two have earned the break, and it looks like you need it too. Sasuke narrowed his eyes as Akura nodded. Naruto sighed, but smiled at the same time. He has to fight against someone who betrayed him, as if he were just a chip on a poker table. It's okay, Kakashi, I'm going to restrain you so that you get a fair chance. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Why the hell would you do that? Naruto let out an evil smile before looking at Sakura. I bet you're still wondering why I was chained to a wall when you found me, huh? Well, you're about to find out why he chained me up with stamps. Naruto vanished into thin air. Kakashi, surprised by the speed, tried to find him with his Sharingan. Kakashi saw it, but not where he expected. Naruto was a few hundred meters high with a Rasengan in his hand, but with a new appearance. The Rasengan was green, with hints of blue in the center. Kakashi snapped out of his thoughts as he saw Naruto descend towards him like lightning. Rasengan. The power was the same as that of a normal Rasengan, but with a different twist. It sounded like Kakashi's Chidori, but demonic and evil. Kakashi managed to dodge it, but with some cuts on his body. Sakura was surprised at how Naruto was able to hurt Kakashi by himself. They couldn't even land a blow, and there were two of them. Kakashi emerged from the rubble while searching for Naruto again. He stopped as he felt a chill in his throat. I would quit, Kakashi, what you did to me was the biggest mistake of your life. Even more than what you let happen to my dad and your team. Kakashi couldn't even articulate a word. Naruto knew about his parents and who his old team was. And Naruto, how did you know that? Naruto removed his crib and jumped out of the crater. You'll find out someday, but like I said, now is not the time or the place. If you don't need me, I'll take a walk around the village. Before anyone could say anything, he was gone in a swirl of wind. Monument to the Okage. Naruto stood still. He was there for several hours, listening to people's laughter and the sounds they made when laughing. Naruto felt disgusted of that place when he saw a man and a woman kissing before separating. What pathetic people here, living like they don't care about anything in the world. What fools everyone is. Naruto looked at his father's head and sighed. I know you must hate me and think I'm the worst son who ever lived, but I have to. Konoha is too evil for her own good, or is there, who am I kidding? I talk like I'm the good guy here, he said out loud. He began to think about some of the people who, according to him, were kind enough to let them live. I will let some people live to tell their story about me and my power. Orochimaru better tell me the truth about his supposed miracle serum for Tsunade. If not, it will be a miracle if someone finds his parts. Naruto nodded to confirm his own promise. Saving a few and killing 1,000 sounds easy enough. Today was the day. The day Naruto had been dreading since he set foot in the village. Today was a B-rank mission on the border of Tierra del Fuego. There were reports that Iwa ninjas in the area were trying to kill some Konoha merchants to slow down the economy. Tsunade had sent them there to seal with the few Iwa ninjas. During the few weeks he has been back, he has been living with Anko. Thanks to the people of the village burning down his house in sign of hatred. Upon learning that Naruto had no place to stay, he quickly offered to let him stay. Naruto accepted, but he had no idea of the problem that caused him. At that moment, Naruto was following his team towards the border. Sasuke would look back sometimes to see what Naruto was doing. Every time I looked, I found him with his eyes closed. Thinking that Naruto was just trying to show off, he didn't pay much attention to him. Kakashi was still somewhat injured after that fight with Naruto. Naruto saw Kakashi limping a bit in the village earlier and smiled to himself. Just a simple limp for now, I'm going to make you a lot more, Kakashi, or yes, a lot more than a simple bump here and there. Sakura was looking at Naruto and thinking to herself about her new change of appearance and attitude. We're almost there. Get down and stay hidden, Kakashi said. Everyone nodded and scattered into the bushes surrounding the camp. In the camp, the information was correct, well, more or less correct. There were very few Iwa ninjas there, but what they didn't see was the other half. They were hidden under the camp, which made it look like there were some. Sakura made a hand signal to Kakashi to indicate that her side was clear. Sasuke did the same, while Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Kakashi looked at him and remembered what Naruto did and said, "Damn you Orochimaru, you have corrupted Naruto." Kakashi shook his head and gave the attack signal. Sasuke and Kakashi began to form Chidori and placed themselves next to each other. Chidori bow. They shouted in unison. A line of lightning formed as the two began to run between the nearest group. Sakura jumped up and hit the ground with her fist with Tsunade's strength. Within minutes, they were all dead. Naruto was still in the same place. Something is not right here. He looked towards near Kakashi and saw that the earth was moving a little. Kakashi, move it. Hearing Naruto's voice, Kakashi jumped into the air, just as an Iwa ninja stuck a sword into the earth beneath his feet. The team was quickly surrounded on all sides. Sakura felt some fear, while Sasuke and Kakashi were preparing to fight to the death, bringing with them as many as they could. They're so predictable, you Konoha scum. To fall for something so simple. Ha! You! The strongest village. Naruto looked around and saw no escape. Shit, I guess I can't keep this a secret after all. Naruto dropped his battle stance and stood up straight. I will give everyone a chance to survive. Leave and don't come back. If not, I'll make sure everyone gets squashed like bugs. One of the Honen ninjas from Iowa looked at Naruto and was scared to death. Oh my god. Nope. This can't be real. Those who were nearby looked at him as if he was crazy. What's the matter with you, man? The Honen dropped his gun and looked at him. Take a closer look at the blonde man. He's my born Namikaze. The others looked at Naruto and panicked. Oh my god, you're right. Seeing where he was getting at, Naruto sighed. Fuck you, dad, and your infamy with Iwa. Don't confuse me with my dad. I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, or just Naruto Namikaze if you want. I really don't care. Sasuke and Sakura couldn't believe what they had just heard. Naruto is the son of the Yondaime, they thought. Kakashi looked at Naruto with wide eyes. Naruto. Don't tell them that. It's a village secret. The Iowa ninja started chuckling. For a second, I thought we were going to die. A new plan for everyone. Kill the other three, capture the Namikaze, and take him or the Tsuchikage. So fools, they chose death. All right, Naruto looked at them with cold eyes as they transformed into the Rinnegan. Almighty push. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura flew out of reach of Naruto's next jutsu. The Iba ninjas looked at him in amazement as they felt the ground shaking under their feet. Naruto slowly raised his head, and the earth began to fly, forming a ball. Everyone who was nearby was absorbed and crashed into the gigantic earth ball. Some of the weaker ones turned into plasticine on contact. The rest managed to cushion the impact with a little chakra, but they were still motionless. This is the end for everyone. Do you have any last words? Naruto asked. The men looked at him in fear, but only one opened his mouth. What are you? Naruto smiled as he slowly closed his fist. Only one man, having said that, closed his fist and lowered his hand. The gigantic earth ball began to descend at an alarming speed. Planetary devastation. What could only be described as the power of a god, Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke were stunned by the size of the gigantic earth ball. Seeing her fall, Kakashi recovered from his surprise and looked at his team. We need to get out of the blast radius now. Run. The other two nodded and ran until they felt a huge explosion that shook the ground around them. Looking back, they saw the giant ball split into small pieces of gravel. From their perspective, they could see bodies everywhere. They started moving forward until they heard someone screaming in pain. They ran back and saw Naruto slowly placing a cradle and over a man's neck. I think you have a leak, sir. What a weak fool. He approached another man who was limping away. Come on. Don't leave your friends alone. You don't see that they feel at peace when you're here. The man looked back and saw Naruto watching him with a crazed look, standing over a dead Iwa ninja. You're crazy. Please, let me go. Let me live, please. I beg you. The man stopped and knelt down, crying inconsolably from fear. Naruto walked over and put a hand on his shoulder. Shh, relax man, don't worry. I'm not going to kill you. The man felt a small surge of hope and looked at Naruto with red eyes from crying. I really mean it. Naruto nodded and helped the man up, but kicked him in the leg, which was already broken, to bend it back. That's for not listening to me about leaving this place alone, and why I'm letting you live. I guess it's so you can tell your leader what I did, and what I'll do if I see them around here again. The man cried again in pain. It's okay, just don't hurt me anymore, please. Naruto sighed and nodded. All right, now get the hell out of here, I want to go home. The man nodded angrily and started to crawl back to his village. Naruto smiled smugly, and as he turned around, he saw his team staring at him with wide eyes. "What the fuck are you looking at? I've done the necessary, now let's go, I feel like ramen," he said as he passed by them. Sakura was surprised at how strong he was and how strong his language was. Sasuke was surprised and furious that Naruto knew about that move and not him. Kakashi almost peed with laughter at the thought of that jutsu being used in the village or any other village. "I have to tell this to Tsunade, she killed them like ants." "Naruto, wait!" Sasuke shouted. Naruto stopped and turned around. "What could you possibly want, Sasuke?" Sasuke ignored the comment about his name and looked Naruto in the eye. "Show me that move. I need it." Naruto looked at him for a second before turning around. "No, you are too weak, and you don't have my same skill level in earth element jutsus. Besides, you could never learn it anyway." Sasuke looked at him with narrowed eyes. "What do you mean by that? You're the last one. I could learn the jutsu easily." Sasuke replied. Naruto let out a grim giggle and started walking again. "Keep telling yourself that, Sasuke. You'll soon see that you'll never be as strong as me." Sasuke was going to say something, but Sakura stopped him when he asked her a question. "How did you learn that, Naruto? The way you made that move, it seemed easy for you." Naruto looked at her and nodded. "Yeah, it was easy. As for how I learned it, it's a simple jutsu that can only be learned by people like me." Enough with the questions. Sakura was dying to ask what he meant by people like him, but she gave up knowing that he could easily hurt her. Kakashi became more and more afraid of Naruto and his words. Something is not right about this attitude, the way he walks and talks, and how he kills without a hint of illness. What have I done? Later in the tower or cage mission completed, Suchin. Naruto said. Tsunade smiled and nodded as she looked at the rest of the team. "What happened to the three of you? They look awful." Kakashi looked at her and nodded. "Yes, Naruto knows about his past too, I'm aware of this. Jiraiya told me after our first meeting here," Tsunade interrupted. "So the Dobe is the son of the fourth Hokage. How is that possible?" "It was our strongest Hokage," Sasuke shouted. Kakashi sighed, knowing that this would come soon. "Yes, Naruto Uzumaki or Namikaze is his son. I remind you that if you tell anyone, I will kill you for revealing a secret of that rank of this village." Sasuke swallowed and nodded. "Now Naruto, you're probably wondering who your mother was, right?" Naruto chuckled as he sat on one of the chairs and supported his feet. "No, I already know about her and my clan," Naruto said coldly, knowing that it would affect Sasuke. "You even have a clan." Naruto looked at him and nodded. "Yes, just like you, but mine was wiped out by 3 villages at once." Sasuke was stunned again. Even his clan was wiped out, Sasuke thought as Sakura looked at Tsunade. "Is that right, Tsunade-sama?" Tsunade sighed and nodded. "Yes, and for a sad reason. His clan was the world leader in knowledge of seals and fuinjutsu. Other villages began to fear them and decided to attack them. Even my clan was a little afraid of the Uzumaki clan," he said. Tsunade knew that she and Naruto had a lower-level blood relationship, but she didn't want them to know. "Well, can I go home now? I'm sleepy," Naruto said as he emitted "I'm leaving with or without your permission" vibe into the room. Tsunade nodded, but stopped him in his tracks. "Before you go, I'm going to nominate your team for the Honen exams." Sasuke and Sakura smiled smugly, while Naruto arched an eyebrow. "Where is it held?" he asked. Naruto smiled smugly upon hearing the answer. "This year it will be held in Otagakure, Anko's apartment. Is anyone trying to sneak away from their girlfriend?" Naruto glanced sideways at the place where the voice came from. He sighed when he saw that Anko was looking at him with pure desire. "For the last time, woman, I'm not your boyfriend." Anko made a fake pout and got up from his chair. "Why not? I know I'm not ugly, or almost every man in this town wants me, so why not you?" Naruto entered through the window and closed it. "Believe me, I'm not the kind of man you're looking for. Besides, I'm not a little young for you. Surely you can get a much more handsome man of the same age if you look hard enough." "I don't want a man my age, you act like I'm an old hag. Besides, if I'm so old, why were you flirting with Tsunade-sama?" "Huh." Naruto slowly put down his glass of water and looked at her. "That's just something I do for fun, nothing more and nothing less. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to sleep. Anko sighed in frustration as Naruto dropped down on the couch. Fine, but just so you know, I won't give up on making you mine. He swore. Naruto's only response was a low growl and a wave of his hand. Anko went to his room and closed the door. I'm not going to let it get away from me. Wow. I should have hit him when he was still young and stupid. I'd have it in my hands by now. Naruto also had his own thoughts. I swear, this woman looks just like Tayuya, but without that dirty mouth. I hope I won't have a mission with my team tomorrow. I almost wanted to kill Kakashi then, or let him get killed while fighting those Iwa ninjas. The next day, I hope you had a good night's rest, Naruto. You're really going to need it for this mission I have for you. Naruto just yawned as Jiraiya almost had his own little party. You're welcome, Naruto. I hope you like this mission. Tell me, Sachin. What's the matter? Tsunade looked at Jiraiya and sighed. Your mission is a seduction mission with some others. Naruto looked at her and chuckled. Look, I don't go that way, besides you should send some Kunoichi. I'm not good at seducing men. Who said it was for men? This village is full of women, beautiful women to be exact. Jiraiya said. Naruto groaned knowing that something like this would happen if Jiraiya was involved. Shit, it's okay. Just tell me who he is and I'll kill him without having to seduce him. No. Naruto, you don't need to kill anyone. You just need to make your way into a woman's personal secret, as Jiraiya saw it. It's called the sex slave trade network. The only problem is that women dominate men. If looks could kill, Naruto would have reduced Jiraiya to ashes with just the look. You're a really fucked up man, you know that, right? Naruto language, I'm still older than you, Jiraiya warned. Naruto smiled smugly. You are a confident old man. Fuck you, you little brat. Naruto started sucking his teeth. Hypocrite. Tsunade chuckled and looked Naruto in the eye. The woman's name is Shin. She is a very wealthy princess from the country of demons. She may seem sweet and innocent, but she is a very perverted woman who likes to be begged by her men. Naruto could already see the whips and chains hanging over him. Couldn't you send someone else? You are the most handsome man in the village, Naruto. It says it here in the paper. Naruto snatched the paper from Tsunade and dropped his shoulders. Why me? We already have a plan ready to capture you. We need you to look like you've just been robbed, and we'll leave you lying on the roadside. The escort will arrive soon near Konoha, so it's time to act. Naruto nodded, but bit his thumb. Why was I assigned this mission? Tsunade leaned back and took a sip of serve. Someone is chasing her. We need her alive so we can keep her wealth in the village. She doesn't know about our plan to protect her, so don't tell anyone. This is a rank secret mission. Naruto nodded and looked up from the paper. So, when do I start? Is everything ready? Yes, just act like your usual sexy self. Anko, I swear you're enjoying this, aren't you? Yes and no. Does some blonde girl keep you as a slave, while I stay at home alone? Shh. Here they come. See you in a few weeks, I hope. Anko left, leaving Naruto acting as if his money had been stolen. On the other side of the small hill, there was a small caravan transporting Shin to his home in the demon country. The driver of the caravan saw Naruto on the roadside. Shin-sama. There's a man by the roadside. The man shouted as he stopped the caravan. The princess poked her head out of the window and saw the dirt and blood covering him. Bring him to me, I'll take him with us to demon. Pepperoshin-sama. He's nothing but a beggar. Shut up. I'll take him with us, period. The man swallowed and nodded as he ran towards Naruto. Naruto overheard the conversation and played dead. The man carried him on his shoulder and returned with her. Put it here with me. I want to check his wounds, Shin said. The man nodded, opened the door and sat him down in front of her. He put handcuffs on her wrists and a chain on her legs. He closed the door quickly and returned to the front. Shin watched Naruto carefully. He was completely naked. His only item of clothing were simple green civilian pants. She wanted with all her might to take it at that very moment, but in the state she was in, she was sure that she would suffer even more injuries. He was about to cure it with the little medical jutsu he knew, but stopped when it started to glow a little red. He watched in amazement as his scars and cuts healed at an inhuman rate. Naruto opened his eyes and looked around. Oh God! Where am I? He shied and crossed one leg over the other. I found you by the roadside a few minutes ago. It looks like someone assaulted you and left you for dead, he explained. Naruto nodded, but looked down at his arms and feet. Hey, why am I chained up? Naruto looked up and saw Shin approaching him with an evil smile. It's very simple. A princess just saved you. To pay me, you just have to be my slave. Naruto already knew this and started acting frantically. What do you mean by slave? You don't have enough. Shin put a finger on his chin and raised his head. Yes, but none of them make me happy. Besides, most of the time, you don't have to work. You just have to be my little sex toy. Naruto looked at her for a moment, and then pretended he was trying to get out of there. No. No, 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 no. Let me out. Shin started laughing while rubbing his cheek. Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything you don't like, well, most of the time. The man driving the caravan heard the cry for help and sighed to himself. I'm so sorry, poor man. First you got robbed and now you're a sex slave, it's just not your day. With Kakashi-sama Tsunade, there is something I must warn you. Tsunade looked at him and then went back to her drink. He sighed as he took a big gulp. Yeah, what's up, Kakashi? On the last mission you sent Naruto and me on, he wasn't the same. He killed more than 40 or 50 and him alone. The jutsu he used could have been classified as forbidden. Tsunade raised her head with interest. Really? Tell it. Kakashi nodded. He used a jutsu called planetary devastation. Tsunade almost fell out of her chair when she heard that. Are you kidding me? That's great news, Kakashi. Not many people can use that move. Kakashi nodded again. I know, that's why I'm here. I think we should keep an eye on Naruto. If I wanted to, I could wipe out this whole village with just that jutsu. Kakashi, you're worrying too much. I have full confidence in Naruto. He wouldn't do anything to the village, let alone kill anyone. Now, if you don't mind, I'll ask Shizune to bring me Q and more paperwork, back to Naruto. Going broke. Pray, little man. Pray. Fuck you, you sadistic bitch. Going broke. Bye. That's the way to talk to your new master. ... I'm going to kill Jiraiya for this. It was night in the demon country. But everything was calm and peaceful at Shin's estate. Naruto had been by his side for a little over a month, and he was getting tired. He's been sending Konoha demon messenger birds asking when he could come home. It was always the same, just wait for someone to do something to him. He read the message over and over again. Further down, he saw a postscript. I'm going to send someone to help you stop you from killing everyone there. I'm sure you know who's coming, so there's no need for me to tell you. She will come as a wealthy woman who is fed up with her husband and needs a man who will make her happy. We have heard that there will be a slave auction soon, and that Shin will put you up for sale. Good luck, firmed Sachin Naruto, he sighed, and hid the letter under his bed. I'm an elite ninja, and here I am, behaving well. I should be minding my other business. He lay back on his bed and rested his head on the palms of his hands. I can't kill everyone without being seen. I should do away with their economy first. Mom, I thought it would be easy, but I guess not. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts when he heard the door to his room open. Shin went inside and locked it. Well, you've woken up. I think you know why I'm here, Naruto growled, but nodded. Shin walked up to him and kissed him on the lips while sitting next to him. I may treat you like a slave, but I really care about you. You've made me happier than ever, that's why I'm naming you my personal bodyguard. Naruto didn't answer, but nodded. Okay, now let's get on with the love. Naruto got out of bed and pulled up his shirt. Shin licked his lips as she started to take off her robe. She pushed him on the bed and sat down hanged about her waist. He reached up to her ear and nibbled on it before saying a few words. I'm really hot tonight, Naruto. I hope you are ready for a wild ride. Naruto just sighed and closed his eyes. Shin flashed a victorious smile and ran his hands over his body, but stopped. Hearing loud bangs on the door. Shin-sama? He has a visitor who wants to see him. Shin turned his head towards the door and narrowed his eyes. Let them wait. I'm busy right now. On the other side of the door, the servant swallowed saliva before exhaling deeply. It's for the auction. He stood there for a few seconds before he heard the door open. Shin had an angry expression, while Naruto had an expression of mixed emotions. He was wearing black shorts that came down to his knees. He wasn't wearing a shirt, but he was wearing a necklace. Shino pulled the chain to get Naruto closer. Have my servants clean up Naruto-kun. He's my personal bodyguard now. The man nodded and took the chain from Shin. Naruto crawled as he was led towards a huge wooden door. Shin watched him leave and smiled smugly. The throne room. Shin wore a simple nightgown and drank in sips. Send them in, he screamed. The man at the door ran to her and opened it, showing Anko in a tight purple dress and purple heels. Anko stepped forward, bowed to him, and looked up. Greetings, Shin-sama. I'm Anko Mitarashi. I came here tonight because I was told that you have certain merchandise that only you own. Shin nodded and stood up. Did you hear that right, but why do you want to buy one? Anko reviewed his story and nodded, indicating that he had understood it well. I am the wife of a very rich merchant. My life is wonderful, almost. My husband has become fat and lazy. He doesn't even see me as a woman anymore, but as someone who is just there to be. I'm sick of it. I need someone new, someone who will do what I want. Shin, moved by the story, nodded. I have a lot of options. Come tomorrow afternoon. I will make an auction for you to choose with other women. Anko nodded and bowed again. Thank you. I'll be at the local tavern if you need me. Shin waved her off as he left. With Naruto. I don't think this could be any cleaner. The woman looked at him with a deep blush. No, I still see something in him. Naruto looked at her and chuckled. Yes, that's called fur, I'm made of it. The woman got up and looked him up and down. I see it perfectly. I just want to make sure that you are in perfect condition for Shin-sama. The woman informed him. He felt her and was about to move away from her, but someone put a hand on his shoulder. I didn't say I was done. Naruto looked at her with an expressionless face, but he looked towards the door when he heard it open. Shin walked in and narrowed his eyes as he saw the maid's blush. I think Naruto-kun is right. It's pretty clean. The woman nodded quickly and ran to a nearby chair to get Naruto a towel to dry off. Naruto looked at Shin again and saw her walking towards him with clothes in her hand. Here you go, Naruto-kun. This is your uniform to protect me from others and possible attackers. He nodded and took the clothes while examining them. The shirt was simple, buttoned. His pants were cargo blue. What made him sweat a drop and remember a certain imperverted saint were the shoes. Of wood. Out of all the shoes I got as a gift, they are fucking awesome. Tomorrow we will head to the main hall for an auction. I need you to look good and be ready to protect me. Yes, I understand, he replied. Shin smiled and motioned for the maid to follow her out of sight. Sleep well, Naruto-kun. The next day, Naruto was standing next to Shin, who was smiling at the auction attendees. He was carefully watching those who entered the room to see if anyone had intentions to kill or injure Shin. Until then, no one seemed to look at her with suspicion, until the same maid from the night before looked at her with burning hatred. She must be mad about something last night, or she might be the one who wants to kill her. She pulled him out of her thoughts when someone else got her attention. Naruto sighed when he saw that Anko was looking at him with barely contained lust. Shin also saw this look and looked at Naruto and then at Anko. Do you know that woman? He asked Naruto. Naruto shook his head. Not at all, it's just that I'm still getting used to women looking at me with the same look as you. Shin nodded and looked at his guests. Welcome back. We all know why we are here, so let's not stop at greetings. Our first entry is... During the hour, Naruto spotted someone preparing to attack Shin with what appeared to be a crossbow. Said attacker was sitting on a C-beam, in the shadows. Seeing how the attacker was moving, Naruto began to think of several possibilities. I could just shoot him and that's it, or that in itself could be a distraction. Come on now. Get some handsome men out now. Naruto looked down at the screaming person and saw that Anko was winking at him. What does this outburst mean, Mitaras and San? Shin asked. Anko smiled smugly and crossed her arms. The meaning is simple. So far the men I've seen dating have been mediocre. I want a man like, let's say, the one next to you. Yes, I want it. Naruto looked at Anko with wide eyes while Shin smiled smugly. It's not for sale. He's my personal bodyguard. I don't give a damn what it is. I buy it $4.100,000. Answer. I am not interested in the yen or any other currency. It will be the standard American monetary system. I told you it's not for sale. Shin shouted. Anko smiled smugly and got up from his seat. You just want to keep all the good stuff. I know how this game works. I'll double my pay for that sexy man. Soon, other women started making their own offers to have Naruto. As this was happening, Naruto looked up and saw the man in the shadows, tensing his crossbow and taking aim. Naruto acted calmly and waited for the man to shoot. Everyone else did not know the man and kept arguing about the sale of Naruto. Naruto looked up again and saw the man pointing his gun at him and shooting. Naruto saw the poison-tipped arrow a kilometer away and caught it with his thumb and forefinger, surprising everyone present. Naruto released the arrow and jumped towards the man in the area. At a breakneck speed, Naruto punched the man in the stomach, causing him to fall to the ground. Everyone who got in his way moved quickly to avoid being hit by the body. He landed with a thud along with Naruto, who barely made a sound, by falling standing close to the attacker. He took a nearby stick and pushed it, provoking a chuckle from Anko. Shut up, that was all he said before Shin was by his side. Naruto, how did you do that? Naruto looked at her and sighed. Anko can tell you that, but first, you brought my clothes, Anko? He asked. Anko nodded and took out a scroll. Naruto took it, went to a big pillar and stood behind. Give me a minute to change. Naruto opened the scroll and started to change in the smoke. Not even a minute later, he came out from behind the pillar and returned with Anko. The other woman next to her started drooling over her new look. Shin blushed even more when he saw her leaf headband. So that's how you could jump so high and move so fast, huh? You're a shinobi from Konoha. Naruto nodded and looked at the man who was moaning in pain from the punch Naruto had thrown at him earlier. Yes, I am. I was sent here to protect you from this man who was supposed to kill you, but he missed terribly and shot at me. Naruto said as he bent down to get a better look at him. The man appeared to be wearing an ambu mask, but had no markings or animal shapes. Naruto scratched his cheek at the sight of a small piece of paper on the man and picked it up. Your mission is simple. Follow Naruto Uzumaki to his mission point and kill him. I'm afraid he has more power than he appears, and, by the way he's acting, I'm afraid he's endangering the village. Kill him anyway. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he read the last part of the little note. Once this is done, return to Konoha to collect your pay. What does it say? Anko asked him. Naruto took the paper, folded it up, and put it in his back pocket. Nothing you need to know. Bullshit. I'm running the mission now. Deliver that letter. Anko said. Naruto stood up and snapped his neck before looking at her. Are you sure you want to play that card to me? And I was thinking about asking you on a date too. Anko gasped and started chuckling. Hey, Naruto-kun, there's no need anymore. I was just kidding. Anyway, I don't even care about that stupid letter. Naruto smiled and looked at the man. Besides, this man was hired to kill you, Shen, so I stopped him. It's your decision whether you want me to live or die. Others around him wanted the man to die for attacking Shen, and for almost killing what they call such a fine piece of meat. I say he should die. Everyone cringed at the sound of a wet splash. Naruto looked around whistling, while Anko did the same. The alleged attacker had two kune stuck in his body, one in the neck and the other in the lower back, at the base of the spine. Shin looked at Naruto sadly and sighed. That means you're leaving me here, huh? Naruto nodded. Yeah, but hey, you never know when I might stop by to say hi. Shin smiled slightly before looking at one of his maids. Go get someone to clean up this mess, please. The woman nodded and went out to find someone to clean the blood and the body. Anko and I have to go inform our Okage now. Besides, this is a message from her to you, I told you. Shin was confused when Naruto and Yanko left in a column of smoke. Huh. He saw a familiar letter on the floor and picked it up. She smiled slyly as she laughed to herself. It was the same letter she had received a few months ago from Tsunade about her attacker. With Naruto and Anko, the two were walking along a dirt road, heading to Konoha. Along the way, Anko asked him countless questions about the mission and everything that had happened there. So, what was it like being a sex slave? It was shit, no pun intended. And what did he make you do? I bet he used whips, considering all those little red lines you have on your body. Naruto sighed and nodded. Look, she whipped me with whips, and yes, she forced me to be intimate with her over and over again. I'm done talking for a while, okay? I need to rest, so let's camp here. Anko smiled smugly and nodded. Sure, Foxy-kun, but what about you? You don't have a tent, and it's a little chilly out here with the wind. If you want, we share the store. Naruto shook his head and looked at her while grabbing some logs. You may not remember it, but I have a giant fox locked inside me. He won't let me die of cold. If I die, he dies. I don't think he wants that. He continued to speak monotonously. Anko snorted. You love making it difficult for yourself, don't you? It's supposed to be the other way around. The man is chasing the woman. I'm not trying to play hard to get, Naruto said as he performed a fire jutsu to set the logs on fire. So, what are you trying to do? Naruto didn't say anything, he just jumped into a tree and leaned on it. Get some sleep. I'll play 20 questions tomorrow when I have more energy, Anko sighed and lay back on his mat, which he had unrolled. He observed Naruto, who apparently fell asleep instantly with his eyes closed. Seeing how the fire reached his face, Anko blushed deeply seeing how handsome he was. She took one last look at him before closing up shop and falling asleep. Naruto and Anko were heading towards the village gates. They had just arrived after a week of walking. Anko sent one of his summoned snakes to tell Tsuna about the details of his mission. During the last week, Naruto started showing interest in Anko and even offered to take her on a date to one of his favorite places. Anko accepted with a dreamy air, but forgot who worked at his favorite restaurant, Ayami. At that moment, Naruto and Anko were heading down the stairs to Tsunade's office to tell her the good news. You can come in, a voice shouted. They both entered and saw Tsunade with a sheet of paper in her hand. That's great, Naruto. How was the mission? From the message Anko sent me, everything went perfect. Naruto wrinkled his nose thoughtfully before nodding. Yes, but I need to talk to you alone. They both looked at Anko, who seemed not to hear them. Anko. Yes, Naruto-kun. Naruto put a hand on her shoulder, pulling her out of the dream she was having. Suchin and I need to have a private chat right now. Anko opened her eyes wide before nodding. Oh, right, sorry, I fell asleep for a moment. Anko leaned forward and whispered in his ear. If you two do it here, help me. I will kill them after intimidating them. Do you understand? He whispered harshly. Naruto let out a drop of sweat before clearing his throat. I'll see you later tonight, okay? Naruto said. Anko smiled smugly and nodded before leaving. Naruto took a deep breath before sitting down in a chair. What did you want to talk to me about? Tsunade asked. Naruto took out the mission paper he found in the assassin. This is what I found from the man who tried to attack Shin, Naruto said before handing him the note. Tsunade started reading before she opened her eyes wide. Someone in this town wants you dead, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded. I figured it out when the guy shot me instead of Shin. After reading the note, I thought it was Kakashi, you and Hiraiya trying to kill me, but something struck me. The man was wearing a completely empty Ambu mask. Tsunade tried to say something, but Naruto stopped her when she continued talking. So I started remembering all the Ambu masks I had seen in this village. The only one missing was Hitachi's, the weasel. So I knew that it was not just any Ambo who worked there. Tsunade got up and hit her desk with her fist. That damn snake, I dance. I should have known better. Naruto put his arms behind his head and leaned back in his seat. Would you mind telling me who he is? Tsunade nodded before closing her eyes. Danzo was a full-time shinobi before the Third Shinobi War. Currently, he is a member of the board and only an advisor. However, A while back, I had a shinobi group called Root. They were like the and S, but even more reserved. Before he died, Sensei told Danzo to remove his root. Everyone thought he had done it, but apparently he never did. Naruto let out a little whistle. What kind of sly, huh? Do you mind if I chat with this dancer for a while? Naruto asked. Tsunade sat down again and laughed a little. There will be no need for that, Naruto. I'll call a meeting with everyone tomorrow. Naruto smiled and nodded. They were both silent for a few seconds before Naruto spoke again. I've missed you so much, Sachin. It's been a long time since I sat down to contemplate your beauty up close. Tsunade blushed before tucking a lock of hair behind her ear. Thanks, Naruto, you look good too, Tsunade replied, before looking at the paper again. Naruto smiled smugly before appearing behind her. Naruto unbuttoned the green necklace she had given him all those years ago, and started putting it on. I thought you'd like to get it back. It looks much better on you than on me, he said in her ear. Tsunade blushed completely and already felt. You don't have to give it back to me, Naruto-kun. Oh, but I wanted to do it. It's yours anyway, and I also wanted to give you your gift. Tsunade almost gets a nosebleed thinking about her and Naruto together. No, Naruto, we can't have intimacy here, or at all. Naruto pulled away and chuckled. Intimacy. Sachin, you really need to stop thinking about the sewers. The gift was the necklace I just returned to you, Naruto said. Tsunade looked at him before looking away. Do you still not know how to talk to women? He asked. Tsunade got the answer when Naruto cupped his huge attributes in his hands. Naruto, what are you doing? He asked. Naruto leaned down and kissed her neck before coming close to her ear. I give you half of a gift that I'm going to give you. The other gift will make you never want to part with me. Tsunade tried to ask him what he meant by that, but he stopped when he started playing with his dots. Don't question it, just let me make you happy, Sachin. I promise you this. When it's over, you'll feel better than you've ever felt in your whole life. Tsunade couldn't think straight. With Naruto leaving gentle kisses on her neck and rubbing her attributes, she turned the tables on him. After a lot of lemon, I hope that's not all my gift. Naruto sweated out a drop. I guess I'm not going home tonight, the next day. Naruto woke up to the singing of birds and a slight snoring. He looked at Tsunade, who was sleeping with her mouth slightly open. He ran between his teeth and kissed her on the cheek. She got out of bed and got dressed. He found a piece of paper and wrote a note for her to read to the duh. Wake up! Naruto smiled at him for the last time before leaving for the team training. Unbeknownst to them, someone was watching them and what they did that night. I can see why Anko likes it, but what am I doing here? I hate people who do this and yet here I am. It's strange, the adrenaline and the excitement of being caught. That's how it feels to look at people. She was the master of Genjutsu, Kureina and Yui. Kureina was going to ask Tsunade about the Honen exams, but she stopped when she heard loud grunts and groans coming from her office. Without realizing it, Kureina and stayed all night, watching the two get intimate like rabbits in heat. No one can know about this, and that I do this. With Naruto, Naruto was on his way to his team's training camp to meet up with him for the Honen exams. When he arrived, he found Kakashi talking to a very angry Anko, while Asuke and Sakura were training together. Don't tell me that shit, Kakashi. Naruto is supposed to be here, so where is he? Anko shouted. Kakashi was slowly walking away from her, scared. I don't know where he is, Anko. I swear. He said. Anko snorted and looked away. When you find him, tell him that he forgot about our date last night, and that I will have what I want tonight. Even if I don't want it to happen, it will happen. He swore before leaving in a swirl of leaves. Kakashi sighed with relief when he saw Naruto coming out from among the trees. Looks like he didn't like what I did last night, huh? He asked. Kakashi let out a drop of sweat before shaking his head. As much as you want to know, don't tell me. I don't want to hear her scream again, Naruto snorted before turning back to look at Sasuke and Sakura, who were watching the conversation unfold. Well, now that everyone's here, we can start training for Honen's exams. Before you think it's the same as Chunon's exams, you'd better forget about it right now. Exams are twice as difficult and even more dangerous. Before we go, we have to beat the other high-ranked teams from Konoha. The last 3 teams will go this year. When we arrive, they will have to face all the teams present. Afterwards, they approve, but Kakashi paused and let his words sink in before continuing. When that happens, you will have the option to fight against your team for the rank of Tokubetsu Honin. Sasuke smiled smugly, but the smile faded when he saw that Naruto was looking at him with an evil gaze. Kakashi saw it and sighed. Naruto, Tsunade-sama asked me to tell you that the jutsu you used against those Iwa ninjas must not be used again. Naruto chuckled. Don't lie, Kakashi. Tsunade hasn't even woken up. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Could you tell me how you know that? Naruto, realizing what he was saying, started rubbing the back of his neck. I don't know, it's just a guess. Kakashi made a mental note when he saw the glassy look in Naruto's eyes when he mentioned Tsunade. Ready for some tips and training? Kakashi shouted, somewhat surprising Naruto and Sasuke. Sakura only laughed at his change of attitude. When Gui does it, he makes it look so easy, Kakashi thought before dropping his shoulders. Kakashi-sensei, don't worry, we still think you're great. Sakura said, trying to cheer him up. Kakashi nodded and clapped his hands. All right, team. It's time to brush up on the basics. Sasuke didn't like the idea. Why do we go over the basics? We should learn more jutsus. He screamed. Naruto shook his head and took a step forward. Let me show you how easy it is to confuse your enemy with the basics. Come at me with your Sharingan ready. I won't hit you back, Sasuke smiled and nodded before carrying a Chidori. Sasuke, what the hell are you doing? Kakashi shouted. Naruto looked at him and shook his head. Let it go, Kakashi. He won't hit me, Kakashi sighed and nodded. Sasuke ran towards Naruto with his hand down to the ground. Just as Sujutsu made contact, Naruto disappeared from sight. Kyuk! Sasuke shouted before feeling a cold object on the back of his head. What did I tell you? The basics can easily kill you. Naruto stepped back and pointed at the blade where he was standing. Substitution jutsu is one of the most basic techniques that can be learned. If used correctly, you can overcome the guard of your enemy with ease. Sasuke growled when he saw how Naruto had beaten him up with a simple trick, while Kakashi was somewhat proud of Naruto. As Naruto said, the basics can be someone's downfall. Some people can use what Naruto just did and turn it into a weapon on their waist. That is why the basics should never be neglected. Everyone nodded. Now, on to what we were going to do today. To be a good Honin, you need to have a large reserve of chakra. So today, we will use it to the fullest. Over time, your reserves become larger and more effective the more you use them. This also means that you need good chakra control. Kakashi continued to speak. I don't need this training. Maybe if you don't remember my problem, I can't run out of chakra. And I already have a lot under my control. Kakashi nodded before looking at Sasuke and Sakura. Well, I guess it's just the two of you left now, he said. Sakura looked at Naruto. You should stay. We could use this time to come up with a joint jutsu. Naruto shook his head and turned towards the forest. No, thanks, they're very weak anyway. I'm going out to take some well-deserved alone time. Naruto jumped between the trees and continued on his way with Tsunade. Tsunade was sitting in her office chair, reading over and over the note that Naruto had left for her. He smiled sincerely before sighing with happiness. He was right, I feel much better now than in years, he said loudly, and began to stretch. He looked down at the small mountain of papers and smiled. Wow! Even the paperwork doesn't make me feel bad. I'm going to make him my toy from now on, he said, taking a leaf and starting to work with Naruto. As Naruto was walking through the forest, he felt a small shiver run down his spine. Someone must have her with me, or it could be just Tayuya thinking about me again, with Anko. Anko was in his apartment, walking around the living room. If I were Naruto-kun, where would I be? Then he snapped his fingers. At that ramen stand. I bet that Sass is trying to win over my man right now. With Naruto, again. Hey, there you go, the usual, please. There he already turned his head to me at the sound of the voice and nodded. Of course, Naruto-kun. While Naruto was waiting for his meal, he heard the curtains open. She turned to look at an angry Anko. So, where were you last night, Naruto-kun? He asked in a cloying voice. Naruto started chuckling and rubbed the back of his neck. I trained, and almost forgot about our appointment, sorry. Anko sighed, but then smiled smugly. She sat down next to him and put a hand on his lap. I know the perfect way to repay me. Naruto let out a heavy sigh when he felt Anko rubbing him through his pants. Well, Naruto-kun, it looks like you have a snake that needs to be enchanted. Naruto pulled his hand away when she came back to me with her food. Here you go, Naruto-kun. And what can I get you, miss? He said while staring at Anko. Anko simply dismissed her with a gesture. Nothing at all. I only have one date with my Naruto-kun. There I already had a horrified expression on my face. Seeing her, Naruto sighed. She's forcing me to go out with her. Anko made a tender pout, while there she let out a sigh of relief to me. Enjoy your meal, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded and started to eat. While Naruto was eating, Anko didn't take his eyes off him for a second. Feeling her gaze, Naruto looked at her. What? You ate it, didn't you? Period. I knew it. Anko, you can't tell anyone. Okay, I won't tell anyone, although there is one condition. What would that be? Anko smiled at herself as she kissed him on the lips. You have to go out with me. Naruto looked at her and shook his head. All right, but don't go and tell everyone. Anko nodded and kissed him again. I should do this more often with you. Later that day, Anko spent every moment she had with him until he was called for the meeting with the council. At that moment, he was in the middle of a circular room with a large circular table. Around him were the civil council and the shinobi council, with Tsunade leading the way. Sama Tsunade, why did you call us today? A civilian asked. Tsunade looked at the man and then at Naruto. I brought them today on an urgent matter. Here is Naruto Uzumaki. While he was on a mission, he was attacked by someone from this village. Looks like someone here has a problem with Naruto being in this village. Everyone started looking at each other to see who it was. To everyone's surprise, Danzo stood up. I was the one who asked to be killed. The room fell silent for a few moments before Naruto spoke. Why is that? Danzo looked at him with narrowed eyes. You have more strength than you let your fellow shinobi know. I was afraid that you wanted to take revenge on this village. When you killed my root, I thought you would attack the village on your return, and it seems I was wrong. Naruto simply shrugged his shoulders. If that were true, I don't care. If you're planning to kill me, find someone who can do it. That guy was as weak as an Innovato gene. Danzo nodded and sat down again. Tsunade looked at Naruto and said, Do you want to press charges against him, Naruto? Naruto shook his head in response. It wasn't really necessary. I was scared. It is a simple human emotion that we all share. Tsunade nodded before sitting back down. Now it's time to talk about the real reason for this meeting. Everyone in the room raised an eyebrow as Tsunade smiled. I think it's time for the name Namikaze to come up again. What does Yandame's name have to do with this guy? Tsunade smiled as Naruto let out a deep sigh. What she's saying is that he was my father, Naruto said calmly. Everyone in the room looked at him like he was crazy before anyone started laughing. Ha! How could you be his son? He never had a wife, said one of the civilians. That's what you think? Asked Suchan then. Ask Jiraiya, they will tell you the same thing I just told them. Everyone looked at Tsunade waiting for an answer. It's true. Naruto Namikaze is his real name. Uzumaki is just a surname of his mother. Naruto looked at Tsunade and spoke. Would you mind telling me why this is the best time to tell her? He asked. He left you a letter before he died. He told Jiraiya and me to give it to you when you promoted Chunin. Besides, with the Honin exams just around the corner, I can't wait to see people's faces when they find out that a Namikaze is still alive. Tsunade said shyly, eliciting a giggle from everyone present. Even Naruto flashed a small smile before looking at them all. Any questions or comments? He asked. He got the answer when a civilian stood up. Yeah, I don't think the Yandame was your father. He screamed. Naruto shook his head before looking back at Tsunade. Then my dad left me something else. Tsunade nodded before picking up a key. This is the key to your family residence. It is located in the forest behind the monument to the Okage, he said before throwing it to her. Naruto caught it and nodded as he put it in his pocket. Thanks, Suchan. Stop by when you can. okay? Naruto asked. Tsunade blushed and nodded as she left the room. With Anko, after Naruto went to the council meeting, when Naruto left Anko alone to go to his meeting, Anko started thinking about what he could do in the meantime. After walking for a few minutes, he saw Kushina, and looking around before sneaking away. Wondering what she was up to, he chased after her. Kushina, and finally stopped, but in one of the strangest places for her, she stopped at a men's-only bathroom. After checking how addictive spying on people was, she cured and couldn't stop the bad habit. This would be the second time she had spied on someone, and she had just been discovered by none other than her best friend. Anko couldn't believe her eyes. Kushina, and Yui, one of Konoha's ice queens and a hater of perverts, was breaking her #1 golden rule. Anko sneaked up firm behind while watching several men bathing in the spa. He quickly covered her mouth with his hand and dragged her towards a bush. "What the hell are you doing, Kushina, and you were just spying," Anko whispered harshly. Kushina and sighed and relaxed a little, knowing that Anko had found out her secret. "I can't help it, Anko. It's an addiction like no other." Anko looked at her and shook his head. "How serious is the addiction? How are you with Dango?" Anko opened her eyes wide before asking another question. "What made you feel this way, Kushina, and what happened to the old pervert I hated, who I came to love like a sister?" Kushina and sat down and sighed dreamily. "Well, Anko, I'm in love with someone now, but I don't think she'll ever notice me." Anko sat down next to him and rubbed his shoulder. "I'm sure he will one day, but who is he?" "Naruto-kun." "In Naruto?" Anko asked. Anko heard her all right, but he wanted to make sure he hadn't made a mistake. "Yes, Naruto-kun is a sweetheart. Not only does he look good, but he's also one of the most caring guys I've ever seen." Anko looked at her friend with a furrowed eyebrow. "That's going to be a problem, I love him too." Kushina and looked at her and chuckled. "I'm sorry, but it will be mine. One way or another." He promised. Anko narrowed her eyes and growled at him. "You're trying to steal my man. I wish I was your man." "Bitch, I said it was mine." Before the discussion could go any further, they both heard a clock strike. Anko looked towards a watch shop and saw a clock that marked 5 p.m. "I have to go, Kushina." Naruto-kun ended his meeting. Anko said before running out. "Come back here, you stupid man hoarder." Kushina shouted before chasing after her. With Naruto. Naruto was walking down the street in the market district, heading to his new home. While he was on his way, he bumped into someone very well known. "Oh, I'm sorry, miss. I wasn't looking where I was going." The woman nodded. When Naruto was about to walk again, the woman grabbed him by the shoulder. "Wait, I know you." Naruto turned and looked at the woman. "Really? I've never seen you before." The woman let out a giggle before raising her hand so that the sand around them would lift. "Who else can do this with sand?" Naruto dropped his jaw to the floor. "Gahara, what the hell happened to you?" Naruto asked him. Gahara let out a feminine giggle. "My real name is Gaia," she said. Naruto looked at her for a few more minutes before saying a word to her. "Huh. My real name is Gaia. Before he died, my father made sure that the world would consider me a son, not a daughter. When he died, I was finally able to show the real me." Naruto nodded and spoke. "But why did he make you act like a child?" "My father believed that women were weaker than men. When I was little, he cut my hair and made me behave like a child, so as not to embarrass him for being another woman," explained Gaia. Naruto nodded and watched her. She was wearing a tan skirt and a tan shirt. Over the shirt, a sleeveless brown shirt. The thing that caught her attention the most was her face and her hair. She was wearing a light pink lip gloss. His face was heart-shaped, but he still retained a cold, dark look in his eyes. Her hair was long and red, down to the small of her back. Note: I have 2 pictures of how she looks in this story in my pictures section on my page. Take a look at it. Well, it's good to see you again, Gaia. I'm sorry, hehe. Gaia blushed a little before nodding. It's okay, Naruto-kun. Even my brothers have a hard time getting used to the idea that I'm a woman. Naruto smiled and started walking, signaling him to follow him. I found out that Orochimaru captured you a few weeks ago, Gaia began. Naruto looked at her and smiled. Yeah, it wasn't that bad though. I am much stronger than before I was captured, and thanks to him, I am the strongest in this village. Kaya snorted before smiling. The same thing happens to me, everyone fears me for me, inner friend. I was nominated for the hunting position, but everyone knew me, so they voted. By Tamari. Naruto shook his head in disgust at the thought of brainless villagers. Anyway, you don't need to be Kasuke. You're too good for such a boring job. Gaia looked at Naruto and already felt. I guess you're right, but what about you? You still want to be Hokage, but right. Naruto let out a grim laugh before looking up at the sky. No way. I hate this village and all its inhabitants. Gaia was a little surprised to think that Naruto didn't want to be Hokage, but she didn't say anything about it. So where are you going, Naruto-kun? Naruto smiled. I'm heading to my father's house. Gaia let out a small smile. How's your dad doing? Go on, he's dead. I'm just going to collect my inheritance. Do you want to come with me? Gaia nodded as they made their way to their new home. On the way, they couldn't help but feel that they were being followed. Naruto looked at Gaia, who nodded her head. They both stopped and turned around. We know you're here. You'd better come out and confront us. A loud slap was heard after saying that. From the shadows of an ally, Anko woke up with a blow to the head and a Kushina. Enraged. I told you, you idiot. He would have discovered us. Fuck you. Naruto and Gaia looked at each other and shrugged. Naruto took a step forward and scratched his right cheek. Could you tell me why you are following me? He asked. They both got up and wiped the dirt off their clothes. Well, I came to tell you that you're mine. Kushina and looked at Anko with a surprised face and clenched her fists. As if it were Anko. Naruto is mine and mine alone. Naruto looked at both of them, and then at Gaia, who for some reason had a slight frown. Who said I was anyone to begin with? Naruto asked. Anko smiled smugly and jumped on Naruto, wrapping her arms around him. Why do I say that? He said with his fist in the air. A drop of sweat fell out of Naruto as he comes and took a step forward, with one hand on his hip. I'm sure Naruto-kun would love a woman like me. Right, Naruto-kun? He said in a soft voice. He just sighed before looking at Gaia. Looks like two people are coming with us, hey. I'm your girlfriend. Anko and Kushina shouted and in unison. They looked at each other with bright eyes. Yes, whatever you say, Naruto said before moving forward, with Anko still at his back. Gaia smiled smugly before following him. I thought I'd have no competition for him, well. I like challenges. In front of the Uzumaki complex, the four reached the forest, above the monument of the Hokage. On the way, Anko and Kushina wondered why they were going there. Naruto just smiled sarcastically and told them that he was going to collect his inheritance. They both wanted to know who he was, but he only made them sulk when he told them they would have to wait and find out when they arrived. We're almost there, Naruto said, breaking the group's silence. How do you know that? Gaia asked. Kushina and Yanko were still a little surprised that it was Gaara, the one with the Chunin exams. Yeah, how do you know that? I just see trees and more trees around here. Anko said as she rubbed her cheek against his. Kushina and growled at him under her breath. Anko turned around and stuck her tongue out at him. I don't know why, but I feel like the place is calling me, Naruto replied. Anko chuckled and started touching her cheeks, making ghostly noises. Oh, Naruto-kun has a gift. The gift of nonsense. Anko joked. Naruto smiled smugly as he slapped Anko's, but by letting her slip a little off his back. Cool. Anko shouted. Jokes like that are considered punishable with me. Lesson learned? Naruto asked. Anko leaned over and nibbled on his earlobe. The only thing I learned is that if I do that, you touch my ass. Naruto shook his head as he comes and ripped Anko off his back. I said it's mine. Back off, Anko. You have a lot of men to choose from. Kushina shouted. Anko smiled smugly and crossed her arms. You're just jealous that he likes me and not you. Kushina grunted a little. How so? Why don't you look for someone your own age? Both Anko and Kushina turned to see Gaia looking at them. Our same age. They shouted in unison. Naruto interrupted them while talking. We already arrived. Everyone turned around and saw a very small house in front of them. The house looked more like a hut. Naruto was a little confused by what he saw. What is this place? It looks more like a wood well, Anko said. Kushina, and hit him on the back of the head. Anko, be nice. His parents lived here. Anko rubbed the back of his neck. I'm sorry. You don't have to punch me in the back of the head all the time, you know. Naruto walked over to the door and put the key in the slot. He turned her over with a loud lick. The door started to glow red before returning to its natural color. That's new, he said. He pushed the door open and saw a shocking image. The interior looked like the room of an oak-cage, but with other rooms and a kitchen. Everyone whistled when they saw the place. Damn, your parents must have had a lot of money. Naruto just nodded before approaching a small letter on the table. While he was reading it, everyone was looking around. Kurenai approached a photo frame and observed who the people were. Hey, Anko. Come here. Anko walked up to her and looked at the photo on the wall. Hey, isn't that Minato Namikaze? What are you doing hanging on the wall? Kurenai just took the picture and looked at Naruto again. He looked at Naruto and Minato several times before slowly looking at Anko. That's his daddy, Minato, daddy Naruto. Anko raised an eyebrow before looking at Naruto and Minato at the same time. Holy shit, Naruto. Naruto was looking at the furniture when he heard himself being called. What? Your father was the Yandame. My Namikaze Mato was your father. Naruto nodded before taking the photo and putting it back on the wall. Yes. Sachin will inform the village about my dad and all that today. That's why I'm going to hide out here and let him calm down for a few hours. Why are you so calm? You just found out that your father was Hokage. Kushina almost screamed, and Naruto dropped down on the couch and sighed. Yes, being his son has its advantages. But also its drawbacks. The council will try to force me to do something, or the villagers will try attacking me again. Damn it. Even the fans will follow me like that damn Uchiha. Everyone nodded as Naruto rubbed his head. Well, I only came for my dad's jutsu, and for the notes about his future talents, but now that I've seen the place, I think I'm going to live here from now on. When he finished, Anko pouted. But who am I supposed to snuggle up to at night now? Naruto chuckled and patted a small pillow on the couch. You have bigger pillows than me. Hold on to them when you sleep. Anko nodded, but smiled to himself. Yeah, or I could move out without you knowing. Of course I do. Consider it a welcome gift. A few hours later. Well, this is strange, Naruto said when he saw that people were looking at him, but he was running towards the building they were near. I think they're afraid of you. Look into their eyes, Gaia said. He looked at a man who looked at Naruto and ran into his house, slamming the door harder than necessary. Yes. Maybe it's because they know who my father was and I'd want to get revenge or something, Naruto said. Everyone nodded before walking towards Anko's house. See you tomorrow, guys. Naruto-kun has to get some sleep to impress everyone in the Honen exams. Anko said as she pushed him to his place. When the door slammed shut, Kushina and kicked a stone against the wall and snorted. How unfair. She has to live with him. Anyway, I have a bigger and better bed than yours. Gaia shook her head and put a hand on his shoulder. I understand how you feel. I love a man who doesn't live in my village. We were enemies, but after he beat me, I fell in love with him. He cures and smiled. Looks like a great love story. Who is he and what town does he live in? Gaia smiled smugly before leaving. We just talked to him. Having said that, he disappeared in a whirlpool of sand. Kushina and gasped at the new information she had just heard. I don't have another girl. Sasuke, I hope you'll use those jutsus I showed you. Sakura, I really hope you make the most of Tsunade-sama's teachings. And Naruto, don't kill anyone, please. It could be a bad image for our village that it looks like we kill for excitement. That's what I do best. You didn't kill anyone. You wish it, Kakashi. I mean, I kill for excitement. It's what I do best. Kakashi swallowed and walked a few steps away. Could you at least try not to get complicated? He asked. Naruto just smiled smugly before walking out into the arena with Sasuke and Sakura behind. The sand. Otagakure. Downstairs, there were teams from all nations present. Team 7 was being glared at by everyone else. Naruto, being who he is, looked at one of the teams and showed them his Rinnegan. One of the members of that team collapsed panting. Hey man, what happened? A guy asked. I don't know. He just looked at me before I felt something pushing me down. As he continued walking with his team, Naruto was laughing covertly. This is going to be easy if this is all they have. Seeing Naruto's mocking gaze, Sakura began to worry about her safety and the safety of others in the exams. How long do we have to wait for this to start? I need to get out of here, Naruto said with a sigh. And what do you have to do here, Tobe? Sasuke asked. Naruto grunted and pointed to the entrance of the arena. Both Sasuke and Sakura were a little calmer. Naruto-kun! Shouted the familiar face. Naruto swallowed hard and prepared to be knocked to the ground. The person in question jumped on him and began to cover him with kisses. Guys, you sure remember Tayuya, right? Naruto asked. Sasuke looked at her with narrowed eyes, while Sakura had a worried expression again. Yes, she was one of the Sound Four who tried to take me to Orochimaru, Sasuke said. Sakura looked at Tayuya with glowing eyes. Don't look at me like that, girl from the front. Naruto-kun told me all about you and your attraction to the walking emo cloud. Tayuya said. Sakura growled at him, but Tayuya stuck his tongue out at her. Is there a reason you're holding on to Naruto-kun, Taiken? Everyone turned to see a woman with a green coat and a stylish hairstyle. Pineapple like Anko's. Hey, Guren. What are you doing here? Tayuya said as he slowly got out of Naruto. I'm just here to supervise the fights and to watch my Naruto. Realizing what was happening, Naruto began to slowly move away from the two women. Guys, back up slowly. They won't be able to see us if we move slowly, Naruto whispered to them. Sasuke nodded while Akura snorted. Why are you whispering? He asked. Naruto and Sasuke groaned, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone turned around to see a man dressed in a cage robe, standing on a podium. Thank you all for coming at this wonderful time of the year. As you already know, the excellent young people you see before you have come to test their skills against the others from the elemental nations. Everyone in the crowd started clapping and cheering. But this year it will be a little more fun for everyone. When the last team standing is left, that team will have the option to face each other in a three-way fight. The winner will receive a special prize. Naruto smiled smugly as he noticed the Otakage's gaze. It seems that he wants me to win for a little conversation. Now, without further ado. Iowa Team 3 versus Konoha Team 7. Naruto turned to his team and sighed. I know we're going to win this by a landslide, so I have a question for you, Sasuke, he said. I know what you were going to say, and yes, I'm going to win our fight. The Uchihas always come out on top, Sasuke said with a mocking smile. Naruto snorted and turned to face the Iowa team. I hope you Konoha scum are ready for a slow and painful death. One of them shouted. Sakura cracked her knuckles and her neck. Keep talking, you little idiots. You are about to see why Konoha is the strongest village. She replied. Teams. Are you guys ready? Both teams nodded. Time seemed to stop when Guren lowered his arm. To fight. In an instant, Sakura jumped in the air and charged at the biggest Iowa ninja in life. From the other team. Liberation of the Earth. Wall of the Earth. Sakura chuckled and hit the wall with all her might. That won't be enough. He screamed as he went through the wall. The man behind flew out and crashed into a tree, bending it a little. Everyone was amazed by his strength and that he had sent a man flying. Sasuke was having trouble with his enemy. The man threw dirt in his eyes a few minutes after the fight started, and now he is preparing to finish him off. It seems that the great Uchiha clan dies with you. He screamed. Sasuke clenched his fists before he heard someone scream. To throw dirt on people. Wow, your village must be weak. Sasuke looked up and saw Naruto grabbing the man's neck with his hand. With a quick flick of his wrist, he snapped her neck with a ghastly snap. Naruto let go of the body and helped Sasuke up off the ground. Hurry up and get the dirt out of your eyes. I'll have your back, Naruto said. Sasuke nodded. Naruto turned around and saw another Iowa running towards him. The Uchiha must die. He screamed. Naruto narrowed his eyes. The man threw a quick punch at him, but missed as Naruto backed away. Naruto counterattacked with a knee to the stomach. He continued with a uppercut to the chin. The punch lifted him up into the air, and Naruto smiled with a sneer. I love this move, he said before jumping in. The man looked Naruto in the eyes, surprised. Goodbye, little man. Naruto screamed as he dug both feet into his chest. The man screamed in pain as he felt almost all of his ribs breaking as he flew through the air. Naruto landed next to Sasuke, who had a strange look. What? Have you ever seen a flying kick in the air before? Naruto joked. Sasuke smiled smugly and looked at Sakura, who was dodging Kunari. Should we help her? He seems to have the fight, Naruto said with a bored expression. Sasuke looked at him and then at Sakura. What happened to you, Naruto? Before, it didn't even occur to you to speak badly about Sakura, let alone let her fight alone, he said. Naruto just sighed before stomping his foot. A shockwave occurred right below the man Sakura was fighting. The man fell into the small well before it closed, killing him instantly. Everyone was shocked by the brutal murderous strength that Naruto showed, and even more so by how he killed them as if they were flies. Team 7 advances to the semifinals. Naruto smiled and looked towards the cage box to see Tsunade blush and quickly look away from him. After Team 7 returned to the waiting rooms, other teams competed. Each team fought with all their might, but they were crushed by Team 7 and Tayuya's team. In the end, the two teams had to face each other. Sasuke was more than excited to fight with Tayuya. Naruto, to say the least, was bored. So, Naruto-kun, are you going to be more lenient with me? Tayuya asked him with a mischievous smile. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Maybe if you behave yourself, I could be more rude to you later, he said. Tayuya licked his lips and looked at Guren, who was blowing smoke through his head. Proctor, I'm giving up. I have a bigger and better fight to win next, he said. Guren sighed and looked at the rest of his team. Both men sighed and nodded. We give too, without her we can't beat them, they said in unison. Up in the box of cage O Tokage Dono, why are there so many garments? Tsunade asked. I'm not sure either, but from what I see, that blonde guy seems to be the reason for his absence, the man replied. Tsunade smiled smugly and crossed her arms over her impressive bust. Well, that's Konoha. We train the best, he said. It's like that? From what I have been told, he has just been found by his village, in the hands of Orochimaru. True, but still, Orochimaru was a ninja from Konoha. So we still deserve recognition. The man shook his head and sighed. Why is she so happy? I've never seen her so excited. They could shut up. Those three are about to fight for that special prize, someone said. The two cages turned and saw Onoki, with all his old age present. To my apologies, Tsuchikage Dono, we were just talking about the blonde guy down there. Onoki nodded and floated towards them. I know very well, I'm here for Tsunade. He grunted. Tsunade turned to look at him. A few weeks ago, one of my men returned to my village with broken ribs, a fractured leg, and even a leg so badly broken that he will have to wear a cast for years, even with healing chakra added. He told me that his entire squad was wiped out along with a few others by a single person. Hearing this, Tsunade swallowed hard. That one kid. He killed them all with a single jutsu. How is that possible? He screamed. Tsunade sat down in silence and looked back at Naruto, who gave her a warm smile. She smiled back at him and looked at Onoki, who was looking at him with burning eyes. I have no idea what you're talking about. I just know that Naruto is strong for his age, he said calmly. That wasn't the answer Onoki wanted to hear. Looks like the next fight is about to start, the Otakage said calmly. Tsunade and Onoki stopped talking and looked directly at Naruto. The floor of the arena. I think it would be smart if you left this fight to us, Sakura. I don't want you to get hurt, Sasuke warned. Naruto smiled smugly as Sakura punched him in the palm of his hand. Like I'm gonna let you and Naruto beat me. Tsunade-sama herself trained me. There's no way I'm going to get beat, he promised. That's what I like to hear from you guys. I want to see how they've been doing with my absence, Naruto said. The three got into position and watched each other closely. Naruto was in a posture that no one had seen before, which earned him a raised eyebrow from Sasuke. Naruto seemed perfectly relaxed with both arms at his sides. Everyone was in silence waiting to see what happened. In a split second, Sasuke disappeared from view right behind Naruto with a ready-to-use Chidori. Chidori. Naruto crouched before the attack and grabbed Sasuke's left wrist, neutralizing the lightning bolt. Naruto was about to give him a quick punch in the face, but jumped to dodge Sakura, who threw both fists at him. "Fucking bitch," he thought. Sasuke took a deep breath and looked at his wrist, only to see that it was slightly red. "Sakura, we have to defeat him together," he screamed. Sakura looked at him and smiled. "Oh, it seems that the situation has changed. Ha 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 ha. Let's see their teamwork, bastards," Naruto said with an almost homicidal tone. "Look, Sakura, the dobe is trying to scare us with a cheesy laugh. Let's show him how a real ninja fights." Naruto started running towards them at full speed. Sasuke also pounced on them, and soon the two got into a fistfight. Sakura concentrated chakra in her hands and watched them. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but we're getting tired of your attitude towards us," he said while trying to cut Naruto with his chakra scalpels. Naruto smiled smugly, picked Sasuke up from the ground, and kicked him against Sakura. Sakura grabbed him by the arms and threw him towards Naruto, sword in hand. "Well, this is certainly new," he mused. Naruto dodged a blow from Sasuke's sword and grabbed the hilt. The two of them were staring into each other's eyes, trying to master the control of the sword. "You're good, Tobe, but you just lost the fight." Naruto raised an eyebrow before watching the world around him begin to blur. "Tsukuyomi?" Naruto blinked as he found himself tied up against a stone wall. "Welcome to the world of Tsukuyomi. I control time here, so you will be in pain for 72 hours, Sasuke said with a mocking smile. Naruto shook his head before closing his eyes. Yeah, forget about those 72 hours, he said before revealing his Rinnegan. Sakura took some time to catch her breath when she saw Sasuke and Naruto under the Tsukuyomi. While resting, he saw Sasuke flinch before shaking violently. Sasuke-kun. As he began to tremble, he fell to the ground foaming at the mouth. Naruto stepped back and cracked his neck. That Tsukuyomi never gets old. Sakura had a horrified expression on her face as she watched Sasuke. What did you do that for? He screamed. Naruto touched his ear before looking at her. First of all, don't scream when I'm here, okay? The second one, I just made him watch the Uchiha massacre again. This little asshole needs to know what his place is in the world. Sakura was furious that she had raised both fists in the air. When they hit them, the ground shook like an earthquake. Naruto stood still before an idea came to him. He started making a Rasengan in his hand before stopping. As he approached the fragments of earth, he smiled smugly. Rasengan wave! He screamed. The Rasengan he had in his hand started to form a small wall in front of him. He began to move forward slowly as the fragments impacted. Every time a fragment hit, it returned to Sakura as an even sharper, but smaller one. Sakura cursed herself for not having thought of it. Naruto mainly used wind jutsus, so using an attack like the one he just used only worked in his favor. Sakura was jumping up and hitting the fragments she could before getting a big punch in the stomach. Naruto cancelled his jutsu and waited for Sakura to fall. The crowd started cheering and clapping as Naruto started walking back to the competitor's box. A week after the Naruto exams, you know you'll have to pay for his medical expenses, right? Sasuke doesn't want to pay and Sakura can't because of the severity of the bleeding she has, Tsunade said. Naruto sighed and leaned his feet on the desk with his hands behind his head. I figured as much, but what's the real reason you called me, Tsuchin? He asked. Tsunade smiled and gave Naruto a piece of paper. He started to read it before shrugging his shoulders. Honin squads, huh? Well, who am I with? Anko Mitarashi and Karena and Yui. When he heard the two names, he almost fell off the seat. What? Tsuchin, maybe you could put me with someone else, he said with an almost pleading look. Tsunade shook her head. They asked you specifically. If he didn't, they wouldn't join the Honin squad program. So, you are the Okage. Are you going to let those two test your authority? He asked. I'm letting an elite honey get on my desk and fuck me when I need it. Do you really want me to adopt the Okage mentality? He asked with an affectionate smile. Naruto chuckled and leaned back in his seat. It doesn't matter, but those two will haunt me, you know that, right? Even when they found me at the Orochimaru base, Anko was in heat like a woman, and Nuzuka. I already imagined it, but you settle for it, The other Honen teams are already set up, so I can't just switch teams for you. Ugh. If you want, can I mark your back with the words owned by Tsunade Senho? He joked. Naruto looked at her nervously before chuckling. No, I'm fine. When does this start? He asked. We start tomorrow morning. They will be from the Zoro team, he said with a mocking smile. Naruto grunted at the little joke and raised his head. Wait, what about the other teams? Like Inada, Kiba and the others. Who will be your sensei? He asked. Kakashi will do it. After seeing what you were capable of, he wanted to make sure everyone was up to you, he explained. Naruto narrowed his eyes, thoughtful. So he thinks that simply fortifying the shrimp will stop me, okay then. Anything else, Sachin? No, that's it, Naruto. He replied in a stern voice. Naruto feigned a pout. Are you sure? Naruto. It's okay. If you need it, call me. Tsunade smiled and nodded before lifting him from the seat. The two started kissing. Naruto was the first to step aside. As he did so, he kissed her on the forehead. I almost forgot, here's the second half of your gift, she said as she took out a serving bottle. Tsunade gasped with her hands clasped together. You shouldn't have, Naruto-kun. He said as he opened the bottle. I know, but that's the best serve in the world. It's something magical if you can call it that. Tsunade shrugged as she felt the slight burning of the serve coming down her throat. All I know is that he's incredibly good. You'll see why he's the best in the world later tonight. Naruto, I said no. Huh. No. Not for that, Sachin. Wow, you have such a dirty mind. Naruto joked before walking out the door. Tsunade smiled a little before taking another sip of sake. With Naruto. I have to remember to thank Orochimaru for that age potion he created. While walking back to Anko's house, she heard someone shouting her name. Naruto-kun. He turned around and saw someone he hoped he wouldn't have to see for a long time. Teuya? Naruto-kun. When he saw who was running towards him, he started to panic. Shit, what are you doing here? The red and white spot stopped in its tracks before hugging him with all its might. I fucking missed you. Naruto smiled with a sweat mark. I didn't tell you not to call me that. He asked as he looked around to see if anyone was watching them. Teuya smiled smugly. Yeah, but I really don't care. It's hard to give up habits. Really. Do you want me to kill him for you? Naruto asked in a dark voice. But sweet. Teuya shuddered before kissing him on the lips. I love it when you try to scare me. It turns me on like nothing else, she whispered in his ear. Naruto sighed and turned around. What are you doing here? He asked. She quickly took his hand and started walking with him. Well, he sent me here to keep an eye on you and make sure you did what he asked you to do. In that little meeting they had during the Honen exams, Teuya replied. Naruto nodded with a mocking smile. Oh yes. Flashback scene. It seemed like you were holding back, Naruto. Naruto sighed and looked at the figure in front of him again. More or less yes, but rightly so. Why waste energy killing puppies when it only takes a little effort? He said. The figure chuckled and nodded. I see, and if they survive that fight, they will suffer even more massive. Ahead with our plan. Now tell me, are there any weaknesses I should know about? None. None at all. The walls have more guards now after your last visit. I could wipe out the whole village, but I want to sneak out without being seen, lest they send their ninjas after me. When I leave, Naruto said. After seeing no flaws in the defense, I have been working to see if the town will fall during an economic collapse. The only problem is that I have no idea how to start. The figure sat down and sighed. I tried before you were born, Naruto. It failed thanks to Senju's account and your father's donations. What should I do then, Orochimaru? Naruto asked. You will return to the village and act as if everything is the same, only I will send one of the Sound Four to help you. The Snake Sannin said. Naruto nodded and stood up. I'll wait for you until later. End of the flashback. I should have imagined that I would send you here, Naruto asked seriously. Teuya smiled smugly. Me too. I'm sure you're wondering how I'm going to fit in here, huh? Naruto sighed again and smiled at him. You behave like a rebellious ninja, and ask for refuge here in Konoha, then become one of the village, right? Tayuya was staring at him with an open mouth. That one is, wow, you're good, she said before hugging him by the arm. A little problem for you, if you wanted to team up with me, you can't. Tsunade put me in a Honin team with Anko and Kushina, and said before turning down the street. Well, I'll see you from time to time. And where do we live? Naruto pointed to a wall in an alley. An alley. Now I understand why you hated this village. Naruto chuckled before resting one hand on the wall. You might want to get ready to throw up a little. All first-timers do that. What are you talking about, you idiot? Oh, nothing, just my dad's famous jutsu, which I've barely been able to do, with Sasuke and Sakura in the air as they are. I hope they get better, Kakashi asked. Firm where he was standing, he seemed to be talking to two mummies, with one leg up, and the other with both arms as well. Yes, we are improving every day. Speak for yourself, Sakura. I'll put the bones back in their place later. Sasuke interrupted. Kakashi sighed, and sat down on a chair between the two. When they finish healing, I will give them an extreme training, more than I have taught them 4 years. Sasuke smiled teasingly at the thought of having Itachi on his knees with a Chidori in his heart. Why the sudden change of tone, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked. Naruto defeated them both with ease. You two are the strongest of your age, and are able to beat everyone else like nothing. Even to everyone at once, Kakashi said, raising his voice a little. But here comes Naruto, who can beat me with little effort, who can eliminate more than 50 people with a single jutsu he could do. May the majority die of chakra depletion. We don't even know how strong it really is, that's why. Both Sasuke and Sakura were speechless. Kakashi attack, the former Captain Ambu, known for showing almost no emotion, showed only anger. I see, so you're afraid of what you can. He can do it to the village. That explains why you trained everyone you can, right? Sasuke asked. Kakashi nodded, and stood up. Yes, I know Naruto has changed a bit, but you can never be too cautious with Naruto and Tayuya. I tried to warn you. I don't give a shit. We should have walked. Well, I need to get better at using the irisin. Wait, for fucking flyers. Who says that? Yes. Naruto was scratching the back of his neck, while watching Tayuya throw up his lunch in the toilet. Hey, when you're done, I'll set up a room for you upstairs, across from mine. The only thing he received in return was an obscene gesture and a door that closed in his face. Well, someone's a little touchy. As Naruto was entering his room, he heard a stone hitting his window. If that's Konohamaru, I'm gonna shove a Rasengan all the way down his. Anko. Just outside his window stood Anko Mitarashi with a nervous smile. Hey, Naruto-kun, do you mind if I stop by for a while? He asked. He sighed, but lifted the window to let her jump up. Phew, thanks, she said, giving him a quick kiss on the lips. He nodded before closing the window. Who were you running from? From what I see, it looks like someone has a big grudge against you, Naruto said as he dropped into his father's favorite chair, Kurinari. She's gone crazy, I assure you. He even has a new hobby that he can't stop practicing. What is it? He asked. That's what Jiraiya-sama does with his little orange books that the one-eyed man reads constantly, he said. Naruto started to laugh, but then he was paralyzed. Wait, shit. And you came here after your fight? Anko nodded and wiped a drop of sweat from his head. Yeah, but he doesn't know I'm here, so don't worry about if he shows up, he calmed him down. Naruto nodded before turning around to see Tayuya smiling with a rice ball in his hand. What a great meal you have, you idiot. Who is the kidnapper of the trench coat? He asked as he swallowed the last bite. Naruto laughed a little while Anko got a little angry. I'm not a kidnapper. Well, you and he were alone, and it turns out you were wearing a trench coat, so yeah. Anko grunted. I'm not well. I'm his girlfriend, he said, crossing his arms. Tayuya looked at Naruto, who was nowhere in sight. What? Where did he go? He asked. He does it whenever something bad related to women is about to happen. It's quite tender if you think about it, Anko said. He ran away because of you. It doesn't seem adorable to me, Tayuya snapped at him. Anko snorted as she took off her trench coat before sitting down on the sofa. You're like a friend of mine, but hey, I need to get some sleep for a mission tomorrow with Naruto-kun. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going